Hi, 8th grade. This is your review for your momentum test, which is tomorrow, October 19th. What is momentum? Momentum is a measure of an object defined as the product of the object's mass and velocity. So you'll take the mass of the object and multiply it by the velocity of the object to find momentum. Describe two ways how you can increase the momentum of an object. You can add mass to the object, or you can increase the velocity of the object. Describe two ways how you can decrease the momentum of an object. You can either decrease the mass of the object or decrease the velocity of the object. So for this one, you're going to choose the car or the truck. A car and a truck are traveling at the same velocity. What can you conclude about their momentum? The truck has more momentum because it has a greater mass. So remember, momentum equals mass times velocity. So if the velocity is the same, but the truck has a bigger mass, it will then have a bigger momentum. Right. Describe the momentum of this truck. Does it increase or decrease after the UFO steals that load or the box that's in the back? The momentum of the truck will decrease after that box or load in the back has been stolen, because if the mass of the truck decreases, then its velocity will stay the same, so the momentum will also decrease. Who has more momentum in this example? Snoopy, who's reading his book, or Woodstock? In this case, it is Woodstock. Although Snoopy has a bigger mass, a greater mass, his velocity is 0, therefore his momentum is 0. Whereas Woodstock, who, although he has a little mass, is moving quite rapidly across your screen. A basketball and a bowling ball are rolling down a ramp at the same velocity. At the bottom of the ramp, they each collide with an equal size pumpkin. Which ball will move the pumpkin the least, and explain why? The basketball will move the pumpkin the least after it has collided with the pumpkin. The basketball has less mass than the bowling ball and therefore less momentum, because the basketball has less of an impact on the pumpkin and will therefore move it a shorter distance. Okay, now this time we have two bowling balls are rolling down a ramp at the same velocity. At the bottom of the ramp, one will collide with a large pumpkin, number 2, and the other will collide with a small pumpkin, number 1. What pumpkin is going to move the most? Number 1 on the top or number 2? And explain why. The little pumpkin is going to move the most. The momentum of each ball is the same. So the little pumpkin has a less mass, and therefore when it is hit by a bowling ball, it will fly farther than the larger pumpkin. Once again, we have two bowling balls that are rolling down a ramp. At the bottom of the ramp, each will collide with a pumpkin, and which pumpkin is going to move the least? Both of the pumpkins are the same size. This time we are changing the ramp height. Pumpkin 1 has the gray ramp, which is higher, and pumpkin 2 has the yellow ramp, which is less steep. It will be the ramp that is lower, the yellow ramp. The velocity of that bowling ball is less, so therefore the momentum is less. And when you hit that pumpkin with less velocity, therefore less momentum, it will move a shorter distance. Okay, so which combination will make the pumpkin move the greatest distance after the collision? A tall ramp or a short ramp? A basketball or a bowling ball? And the small pumpkin or the larger pumpkin? You want the pumpkin to move the greatest distance. So you will want to choose the greater ramp height to increase the speed or velocity and therefore momentum of that ball as it's rolling down. You also want to choose the bowling ball, which has more mass and will therefore have more momentum than the basketball. And you also want to choose the smallest pumpkin because it's easier to move than the larger pumpkin because it also has less mass. What is the law of conservation of momentum? At any time objects collide, the total amount of momentum will stay the same. This means that the momentum of the objects before a collision is the same as the total momentum of the objects after the collision. Okay, apply the law of conservation of momentum to this example. Car 1 on the ramp collides with car 2 on the ground. After the collision, car 1 and car 2 continue to move forward as one object. What can you conclude about the velocity of car 1 and car 2 after the collision? You can conclude that the velocity of car 1 and car 2 after the collision will be half that of the velocity of car 1 because the mass of car 1 and car 2 after the collision are twice the mass of car 1. So the momentum here must stay the same. So P is going to stay the same before and after. However, the mass of your cars are going to double once they collide and start moving together. So if I double my mass, I have to half my velocity to keep my momentum the same, which follows the law of conservation of momentum. Alrighty, thank you for studying with me. Your test is tomorrow once again. If you have any questions, please ask your teacher before the test. And you can also watch the Bill Nye Momentum, which has been linked in your Google Classroom. Good luck!